this isn't the greatest drawing because loose and fast is good, and I tend to be pretty loose and fast, but I keep flapping my lips, so I'm not being as loose and fast as I want to be. Anyway, sometimes it helps to just put a little circle in where the joints are just to help you out. And your shoulder is made up of well, 3 large parts, and the smaller muscles called your rotator cuff, which create those crazy striations that can look odd, kind of like that, I guess. And sometimes you can see those ripples in the shoulders, but they sort of, I think they have kind of a crisscrossing nature, but anyway. And so that front part of your shoulder goes into part of your chest there, and your collarbone. See, it's not a straight line. A lot of beginning artists will just draw this like straight line, but it's actually the top part of this hole I was talking about. The top of your rib cage is just one big tube here, and your spine goes through, and so call that your collarbone. And your shoulder is actually just your shoulder blade. Okay. The front part of your shoulder connects sort of halfway across your collarbone, where there's like sort of a bend in the bone, or maybe it's cartilage right there, I think, actually, but so it kind of connects there. It's just kind of remember that, how the chest is divided up, and your chest has 3 general parts to it. Top part here connects. Sometimes you get that, I don't know, I guess it's called the George St. Pierre line these days, but it used to be the Franco Columbu line back when I was growing up, and Arnold Schwarzenegger and all them were all the rage. So you have your top chest and your middle chest and your lower chest, and it sort of divides itself up that way anyways. Okay, now I got a second person here, whose knee is right about here. And so the hamstring, like I was just talking about with the tricep, same basic thing, or you can see that split, that relationship between the hamstring and your quadricep, the top part of your leg from the side, and or you can, looking straight up at the bottom of a leg, you can see the quads on the outside and the hamstring in the middle here. Just depending on the angle you're looking at the leg. It's 3-dimensional, learn the skeleton, figure out how all these things work. And the knee, I could know the knee better, but in general, I can kind of fake it just because I know that I could figure it out just by messing around here. But basically your knee is kneecap, and the bones of your leg would be looking sort of like that or something. And then you got, it splits into 2 just like the forearms. So you have those like 2 curves, and 2 bubbles, whatever. And your kneecap would be up higher, and that, yeah. Anyhow, it's a complicated structure, and I'm not gonna go into it in depth from every angle, and I'm boring myself here. Here's one of those points where you've got a pinch point or an anchor point in the clothing of this guy's shorts and the photo I'm drawing. I don't know why people can't learn how to draw wrinkles and folds, and if you just in practice start learning to make, you know, 3 lines of different lengths and distribute them throughout when you're sketching and doing your drawing, it'll just look better, because, you know, it may not be perfect like it would look in nature, but it would look similar to that. Your drawings will just look better. You start utilizing that more often. But, you know, that would be a pinch point. And this would be, I guess, an anchor point. And I'm not even looking at my reference right now, but so you got anchor points and pinch points of where your clothing would hang. Like the pressure would be here, so it's an anchor point, and this is a pinch point because, you know, it's bending. But your anchor points, the movement of something, just think of like you're drawing an arrow from the anchor point in the direction that things are moving, and his leg is moving that way. So that's exactly the way that the wrinkles in the pant leg work, or sleeve, or whatever. It's I don't know. It's really not that hard. I don't. And you'll find your sketches will just look a little better. You add that stuff in as you're just roughing things out. You know, you just, oh, this is moving this way, and you throw in those lines and all. Skeleton works in the back. Okay, you got your spine, and your shoulder blades are really important, how your shoulders are laid out. See, here you got your anchor point here, top of your shoulder. That's actually sort of an overhanging ledge that is part of your shoulder blade that your arm bone hangs from. I guess his arm's coming down here, sort of like that. Anyway, it's close to us. There's a little foreshortening here in this picture. But anyway, so your shoulder blade, sort of a triangle shape like that, and it's got this ledge hanging off of its back. This ledge correlates to your traps, and I'm not really looking at my photo, but alright. And most of the muscles in your back, back muscles are so difficult if you just try to draw them from looking at muscle magazines and pictures. It doesn't make any sense. There's no real logic to it unless you learn to draw the skeleton and you learn how everything is sort of connected there and how things are moving, and then it sort of all makes sense of how things are working. And your back muscles, say you got this one that runs under your arm a little bit, connects to your shoulder blade here, and the rear, I said your shoulder is 3 muscles. Your shoulder is 3 parts, so his rear part usually isn't very developed on most people. It doesn't get as developed as the front part of your shoulder, which gets used all the time. It's sort of just like your chest. You got this top part of your back pulls the shoulder, helps give you that V taper, and you got the long part of your back, part of that V taper. Okay, this top part connects to your shoulder blade. This long part probably connects to your shoulder blade too. So I think it's underneath or something. And you also have the prominence of how, you know, the rib cage, this whole cylinder thing here, which, you know, I suppose I could draw it here too. Okay, you got your spine. You got about 11 spines, something like that, that stick up here from your head, and ball, skull, whatever. Anyway, the ribs, the muscles, the rib muscles that you see, they sort of, your ribs are like this. They follow that ribs line. And the muscles, they sort of just bisect into those ribs to give you that look. they just sort of correlate with the actual flow of the ribs, and which is obvious because it gives us that line of that shape that we always make for the rib cage. You know, this basic, that's how your ribs are. And you know, it's the same in the back, or the opposite, I guess. But you have this back line, and sometimes the muscle is real thick here, and it'll thin down right behind it, and you can see the rib lines through in your back, and just make your drawing look a little more dynamic, make the person look a little more ripped to actually be showing some of those ribs in the back. And you got your traps, like I said before, and you got this sort of concave portion there your spine goes through, and connect up your neck, and there's a neck, call it a neck anyway. I just hope, yeah, that illustrates how important the shoulder blade is there, how it connects all those back muscles that are so hard to draw and so hard to figure out. And you'll get, I don't know, a general Y from, you get a line, sort of your mid-shoulder, get a line for your lower shoulder, that'll sort of separate into a Y, where the meat of this muscle that is on top of your shoulder blade here is, that's sort of a confusing part there. You just having that general shape, that those, well, look at there, there's those three lines again. Golden ratio at work. How your pelvis acts. Okay, the bones in your leg, there's the big fat bones. They have this little prominence here that sort of sticks out. If you look at a leg from the side, it sort of goes out like this. You got this little prominence here, and the bone that actually is your leg goes into your pelvis there, and has the ball. It's just sort of like inside of your pelvis, and your bones aren't exactly a straight line. They're sort of a curve like that. Anyway, this little protrusion here is called the greater trochanter, I think. But that correlates, like, I just, you know, I don't usually draw this whole detailed mess here, but that, just knowing the position of that greater trochanter, right there, it's sort of in the middle of this whole area here. And it just sort of, you know, if you know that's there, you kind of know how the rest of the muscles kind of work and correlate the whole cleft of your butt and everything. Okay, so you got like the top portion, your buttocks muscle, and the smaller lower portion, butt crack, you know, the whole ordeal, and it all correlates to this. So do your, you know, the separation between your leg biceps, your hamstrings, and your quads, you know. It's just another very important sort of landmark that knowing the skeleton helps you with. And okay, so you got your hips here, your pelvis, the word pelvis, I think it's the word pelvis, correlates to the word bowl in Latin, like a, you know, bowl. A bowl. There's a bowl, if you want to call it that. But that's what your pelvis is, basically. Okay, here's your the bottom of your spine, your old butt bone sort of thing there. A couple muscles come up alongside these straps of muscle go up along your spine here. Knowing the pelvis is kind of important too. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just knowing how it generally correlates with everything else will help out your drawing and make things look a little more clear how they're supposed to look. But it's a bowl because there's this big concave shape here that your guts sit in. Say, here's your gut, all your guts, everything is just sort of held in this bowl, which is your pelvis here. There's this big bowl shape. There's a bowl. Everything sits in that. Most of the weight of your body, like here's how your body is built. You got these big thick bones